Get ready for me while I tell a story about how me and my best friend of 3 years stopped being friends and how that evidently turned into one of my teachers getting fired. So basically, bring this back to freshman year in high school. Every single thing is so dramatic. Everybody thinks that they're at the top of the world when they is a freshman. Me and this girl had known each other and had been best friends since 7th grade because her dad taught at the middle school that me and her both started at the same year. So me and her like meet pretty quickly, become like best friends. There was always some sort of argument going on, like it's that 7th and 8th grade drama that turns into the time where we are going to be going into high school. Me and this girl get sent to this high school together. Now this girl's mom is one of my high school teachers. I'm hearing all these things about like this girl talking about me. Girl, we were best friends. We were best friends. What do you mean? So I text her and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Because I'm hearing a whole lot of things and I just need to know what's yapping. And she's basically like, Kennedy, it's not true. Don't listen to their lies. So they weren't lies, like you were saying. I heard things that only you would know. So like they weren't lies, okay? She is not going to admit to it. I've known her for years. I know how she is, but I'm like, okay, whatever. And so then I just start distancing myself a little bit, which turned into me and her basically just like never really talking, snapping like a few times a day. Like we didn't very talk very much. Like once I pulled away from that friendship, it was done. And I was like, wasting my time for the past 3 years, I guess. Basically, I lived at this girl's house for like 3 years. Her family knew every single thing about me. Literally everything. One day, I hear more that she's saying about me. So what do? I text her one more time. I text her on Snapchat, so that way I know I will see when she opens it, and I know I will see when she starts typing. So I send a paragraph, sugar honey, I see you not, this freaking long. It is still in my notes to this day. I haven't read it since I wrote it, but it's still in there. That was my rough draft. I send her that, wait for her to open it. Wait for her to start typing, because I know now she's thinking in her brain, like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Now you don't even get to say it because I'm gonna unadd you the second you start typing. So I unadd her, rightfully so. Forgot a small detail, I am in her mother's class still. But so we just like never really talk about it, and I know she read the message. I know she read what I wrote to her daughter, and I'm sure if she didn't know the whole story, she would probably think I'm a horrible person. But I don't think she does. I don't think she did. I want to say a few weeks goes by and we're chilling. Me and her mom like still talk in the class, but we like don't talk about what happened because I think she also knew like I probably shouldn't be friends with her. And basically it was chill. It was chill. She was saying how good of a student I was. All of a sudden I was a perfect student. And then one day a random at my school, a random comes up to me and is like, hey, I was talking to Miss Blank and she was telling me all about this situation with her parents. My parents are talking about me? And I'm basically like, oh no, she did. Oh no, she did it. What the hell? Oh my god. So, since this is a high school teacher, I'm not gonna go stomp into her class. I heard you were talking about me. No, I'm going straight to the office and I'm filling out a report. 4 pages long I was able to write. Mind you, I brought up like a couple of students' names in it, right? Like just ones that had like told me about what she said or like had talked to her about the situation. Like, you know what I mean? One of the front office ladies takes a picture of my report, sends it to her via email. Okay. So now she has all of the students' names that I had brought up in that email. So what does she do? She starts calling them down to her classroom one by one and threatening them and saying, you are not going to say a single thing to Mr. whatever our principal's name was, say a single thing to him, or else like you're not allowed to leave cheer bag in my room anymore, because one of the girls was in cheer and she was like late every day, so she would go through that side of the school and then just leave her bag in there and then go to class. She was like, oh, like you're not going to be able to leave your cheer bag in my room anymore if you like say what happened, and like this over and over and over again. One girl tries to walk out of her room while she's doing this. She literally walks out of the classroom, grabs her hand, rips her back in. Crazy. But luckily for me, I have the text messages from the girl saying that like the cheer bag and like whatever got called down. So when I texted her and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the office, I'm gonna tell them that happened. She was like, no, because I need to leave my cheer bag in there. And I was like, okay, well, I have the screenshots of you saying that happened, but you're just gonna deny it, so I'm just gonna show those instead. So I do. Me and like my best friend at the time stomped into the front office and we were like, hey, this is what happened. And he's just kind of like, okay, are there any more screenshots? And I'm like, take your job seriously. Oh my gosh. Now, what happened after that, I'm not 100% sure. I'm 99% sure that they got like into her email and saw that like other things were going on via her email, and that was also another reason for them to ask her to leave. But I know that she did, I'm pretty sure that she did leave on her own accord, but I'm pretty sure it was also because she had been asked to leave the next year, so she just left. And I don't know what to do about that, actually. Was my intention to get this woman fired? No. I just wanted her to stop talking about me. You are like 50 years old. What are you doing? Your entire life revolves around your daughter's high school drama. Like, what? But yep, I never saw her again after that. The girl then had to go online, and then her boyfriend and her broke up. Then they got back together, and then they broke up, and then they got back together. Me and her have not talked since. I have not tried to contact her or anything. But here's the finished makeup. I love you guys so much. Bye!
Hi, my name is Rhiannon, and the story about me is that when I was in my junior year of high school, I finished all of the credits that I needed to graduate, right? I didn't have any other classes I needed to take to graduate before my senior year. So I went to my mom and I was like, hey mom, look at this. I have all of the credits that I need to graduate. So could I like graduate early perhaps? Because I hate being here. I hate this school. I hate everything about it, and I'm ready to get out, right? And she was like, no, like you have to go to prom and you have to walk across the stage at graduation. Like, what are you gonna do if you graduate early? And I was like, Mom, I cannot express to you how much I do not care about any of those things. Like, I just want to get out. And she was like, no, Rhiannon, you can't graduate early. So I was like, okay, bet. So I went to my guidance counselor and I was like, hey girl, what are the least amount of classes that I have to take at this school to be considered a student still? And she said you have to take one class and a lunch period because every student has to have a lunch period. And I said, okay, bet. So I signed up for some random ass elective class and a lunch period. But I was like, how am I gonna fill out the rest of my day, right? So my first half of the day, I was already taking classes at the community college. So I like took my little like sign up sheet to my guidance counselor and I was like, look here, I'm already taking like classes at the community college. Like, can I continue to do that for the first half of the day? And she was like, sure, I guess, whatever, get out of my office. So I got my first half of the day like built out. I didn't have to go to my high school. I went to the community college. The second half of the day, I learned about something called OJT, which is on-the-job training, which is basically where you go to work, you have your supervisor at work like fill out a timesheet that says like, yeah, like she worked these hours, and then you bring it back to like the teacher of the class, and you're like, here, this is how working at a grocery store has really prepared me to be like a person in society and like a person in the career world. And like, I really didn't care about all of that. Again, I just didn't want to be at my high school. I also got to make like a little extra money by working extra hours at work. So the second half of my day was filled out with on-the-job training. But I had those 2 hours in the middle of the day where I had to have a lunch period and I had to take an elective class. And every single day I had to like mentally prepare myself to walk into that building because I did not want to go to my high school. I didn't want to go in there. I was like, I don't need to be here. There's no reason for me to be here. Everyone here sucks farts and eggs and I hate it. Like, I hate it so much, but I had to do it, right? Like, I had to do it. So the way that I hyped myself up every day, I would get in my car and I would drive over to the high school. And the way I would hype myself up is I would listen to Gucci Flip Flops by Bad Baby featuring Lil Yachty. Every single day, Gucci Flip Flops by Bad Baby and Lil Yachty. Every single day. I'm not exaggerating when I say every single day. And I tried to find another song that would hype me up to walk into that building for 2 hours the way that Gucci Flip Flops did, and nothing did it for me. But I'm telling you, the minute I turned on Gucci Flip Flops, I was like, I can do it. I can walk into this stupid ass building for 2 hours and I can do it. Like, Bad Baby grant me strength. So all of this to say, thank you, Bad Baby, for not only your contributions to society, but your contributions to me personally. I wouldn't have finished high school without you, I guess. So much love.
Things I did in middle school when I thought I was way hotter than I was. This one's gonna be rough. First and foremost, I made so many of what could be considered the worst thirst traps of all time. I don't know why I was making dead serious thirst traps at age 11, 12, but no one was stopping me. For these thirst traps, I'd be waking up like 30 to 45 minutes earlier for school in the mornings so that I could use my James Charles palette to do little colorful eyeshadow doodles around my eyeballs. And then I would make transitions in the passenger seat of the car while my mom was driving me to school. I wish I could say they were like cutesy little like, look at my eyeshadow videos. No. The sole purpose of them was to be like, look how hot I am with my little colorful eyeshadow doodles. And I posted them all. The other thing was that I was walking around school with the biggest head, the biggest ego literally ever. Like, if I had the same self-confidence now that I had in 8th grade, I don't even know where I would be. But in my head, walking around those 8th grade halls, everyone who looked at me was in love with me. Everyone in the school knew my name. Every guy obviously had a crush on me, because why wouldn't they? I genuinely think I could have qualified as a narcissist at this point in my life. And part of the reason that I'm sharing these stories is to just like acknowledge that I was being crazy. I was so annoying and weird, but like I was learning, so I'm not mad at myself. I really don't like to dog on myself too much like that from when I was younger because I was just learning and growing and I didn't know anything. So also, more than anything, I just wanted like love and friends. But man, was my ego actually crazy. But it's better than hating myself, so.
You guys, the absolute most diabolical thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life happened last night, and it was Friday the 13th. So I have been talking to this guy, Eli, for about 3 weeks, and I was down bad for him, like really bad. I have not been this down bad for a guy in a really, really long time, okay? Like, he genuinely made me feel 19 years old again, and not in a good way. Like, I was losing my mind. In town for his spring break, and so we went to Odie's in Midtown. And Eli calls me before I go out, and he's like, wait, we were texting before, and he's like, wait, you're going to Midtown? Like, where are you going? I was like, I'm still getting ready, but we're probably going to Odie's. He's like, okay, call me when you get there. I get there, and my cousin's coming from Green Hills, because he's staying with, like, his roommate from college or something. And so, at first, it's just me and Eli. Like, we're all over each other, like, the vibes are good, like, you know, he gets me a drink, we're just talking, and then my cousin and his friend come, and we get a table outside, and we're all just chilling for, like, an hour. They're all hitting it off. Eli was gonna go play golf at Belmead with my cousin and his friend on Sunday. They all exchange numbers. Like, the vibes are so high, okay? The vibes are so high. And I'm like, you just met one of my family members. So then he's like, oh, one of my French buddies is gonna come. And I was like, okay, sick, like, let's go. And so then we, like, get up and we go to the bar because he's like, oh, like, my French buddy's here. And we walk up and it's a girl, which I'm like, okay, like, I have a lot of guy friends, like, I don't really care. But also, like, the word buddy, you don't call women buddies. And so then, like, he introduces me to her, like, she's super sweet, super pretty, like, I'm talking to her and her friend, and then we split up. So then it's like, the guys in one group right here, we're all standing next to each other, but just in different circles. And, oh my gosh, so the guys are standing here, we're standing right here, and I'm like, so how do you know Eli? And she's like, we're dating. And my heart drops, and, because I'm like, and then I finally go, okay, I'm so sorry, I don't know what to do, but, like, I'm dating him too, and her face drops, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, wait, I feel so bad. Like, we're going back and forth. Like, we're hugging, we're talking. Like, we feel so bad for each other. And then we start putting all the pieces together, okay? So last week, I hung out with him every single day. And then this week I was like, okay, like, I'm literally going crazy about this guy. Like, I need to get back on my schedule. I need to get back in Pilates. Like, I need to go on walks after work. Like, I can't just be running around with Eli all the time. And his family is originally from Nashville. So he also cancels plans a lot last minute. And so I was like, does he talk to you about his family a lot? And she's like, yeah. I was like, did he say he was with his family on Sunday? And she was like, yeah. I was like, he was with me on Sunday. And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, he was with me on Sunday. And then Thursday, he was supposed to come over when I got out of I went to a sound bath. And he was supposed to come over, and I was like, were you with him on Thursday? He told me he was watching the Preds game alone at his house and going to bed. And she's like, yeah, I was with him on Thursday. So we're putting all the pieces together. Then, like, obviously she's upset, so like her and her friend go to the bathroom, and so I go and join the guys group, and I'm like a very lovey-dovey person, so it's very obvious that something is wrong because I'm standing on the other side of the circle from him. I'm not looking at him, I'm not talking to him, I'm not touching him, like we're not holding hands, and he's like, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? I wasn't gonna like say anything, and then I was like, okay, I'll tell you what's wrong, like, and I was pretty chill about it. Also, my cousin saw all of this go down, so I have an alibi. But I was like, why did you bring another girl that you're dating here? And he was like, what? Like, well, I thought you guys would like each other. And I was like, what? And I was like, that's so disrespectful. And he's like, well, you're not my girlfriend. And I was like, I completely understand that, but that is still so disrespectful. And he was like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't see anything wrong with this. Like, if you, and like, I mean, am I not allowed to talk to other people? And I was like, yes, of course you are, but like, you don't introduce us to each other. And I was like, how would you feel if I brought another guy I was talking to here? And he's like, oh, I wouldn't care. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, it's pretty obvious that I care about you and like you a lot more than you like me. And I had so much faith in who you are as a person. And you've shown me so many things that I should have like just not entertained this anymore, but I really did like you, but yeah, this is not gonna work. And he's like, wait, like, are we not gonna have a good night? And I was like, no, we're not. And I was like, I'm leaving. And he was like, oh, okay, should I get us an Uber? And I was like, no, we're not leaving together. And I gave my cousin my drink so he could finish it because I was ready to get out of there. And he was like, wait, like, we're not leaving together? And I was like, no, we're not. And he was like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I just really don't understand how I'm in the wrong here. I was like, I genuinely know that you do not understand that, and that's a serious problem. That is a serious problem. And he was like, well, I bought you a drink. I'm like, I don't care if you bought me a Birkin, like, I'm leaving. And I left.
Story time on why I got kicked out of my dad's house at 14 years old. And before I get started, I just want to say that this was like almost 6 years ago. So I look back now and I'm like, this is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. But at the time, obviously, it was very sad. It was the best day of my life, actually, now that I think about it. Okay. So for context, my parents are divorced, obviously. My dad remarried. I have a stepmom. She's awful. So it was, I don't remember the exact date, but it was a little bit after winter break, and I was coming from school to my dad's house. My stepmom picked me up because my dad has work, and in the car we're arguing because I am wearing leggings. Oh my gosh. I was not allowed to really wear leggings at my dad's house. According to my stepmom, it was promiscuous to wear leggings. So keep in mind, I'm in high school. I'm 14 years old. I was wearing leggings and I was getting in trouble for wearing leggings. So already off to a bad start, right? I get home. I'm in the living room doing studying or whatever I could find to do because I was not allowed to have my phone over there. Keep in mind, my stepmom was also allowed to have all my passwords to everything, apparently, which, crazy concept, because you're not my guardian. Anyways, I just bought myself with my own money an Apple Watch, and I was hiding it from my stepmom because I bought it with my own money. And her whole rule about having the passwords to everything was her idea. My dad was never that type of person until he married her. So I was trying to hide my Apple Watch because I was 14 years old. I did not want her to take my Apple Watch away from me like she took my phone all the time and hid it and would go through it. So I'm doing homework. I have my Apple Watch on. I get hungry. I go to the pantry. There wasn't really much in there, so I think it was like the Annie's crackers or whatever, something like that, and I have a couple of those, go back to work.
stepmom comes in, shaming me for eating the snacks. She tells me, she goes, "You're gonna get fat if you keep eating all those snacks. Don't make me lock the pantry." Don't make you lock the pantry? Keep in mind, I am a healthy weight at this point. I'm a healthy weight. I'm pretty active. If anything, maybe she should lock the pantry from herself, but I digress. We're already arguing. This was a common occurrence, us arguing every single time I went over there. She really just did not like me for some reason. Anyways, as we're going back and forth about the pantry situation, she noticed my Apple Watch. Perfect! She asked me to have it. She's like, "No, you cannot have your Apple Watch. Like, that's basically a phone. You're not allowed to have your phone," right? I'm over it at this point. I'm sick and tired of years and years and years of her acting like she is my leader or whatever, because honestly, flip you. I could say a lot of things about that woman, but I will not. You are an awful person, and I was done with it. So, keep in mind, my dad's still at work. We're arguing. I tell her I paid for this with my own money. My mom paid for my phone, but you still take that and have my passwords. I don't think this is okay. My dad was never like this before he married you. I think that this is weird, and you are not my mom. So I will not be giving you my Apple Watch that I paid for. And I will not be giving you my password to my Apple Watch that I paid for. So eventually, after arguing for a long time, she tells me, "You know what, whatever, I'm gonna tell your dad. He'll deal with you when you get home. Go to your room." Okay, perfect. I love my room. That's where I spent 99% of my time at my dad's house, in my room. There's more on that, but I will not go there. Go to my room. Dad gets home, comes up to me, says, you're a little B word. Your mom's coming to pick you up. You're not coming back." And so my mom picked me up, and I never went back. So it's pretty stupid reason, but probably the best day of my life. And if I had to do it again, I would, and I would say a lot worse things.
My university is using my image as part of their diversity campaign without my consent. And I genuinely had no knowledge of this until my international friend who was touring campus texted me a picture of a brochure she had received, and guess whose face is on the very front cover? Mine. And the crazier thing is, I know exactly when that picture was taken. It was my move-in day when I had just received my keys, and all of a sudden to my right I hear "smile," so I instinctively turn and I give a thumbs up and I smile. They walk off, but I catch up to them and I say, "Hey, could you please delete that picture? I just instinctively reacted." And they were like, "Well, we take pictures of all freshmen on their move-in day and we send it out to them so that they have memories forever of their first day on campus." And I thought that was sweet and sentimental at the time, so I didn't think much of it. But later throughout the day, I realized that doesn't make sense because they don't know who I am. How are they going to send it out to me? But, oh well, I'm a forgettable face. It's no big deal, right? Wrong. I'm on flyers, posters, on their website, brochures. I'm all over campus, and this is specifically targeting their international demographic. I had no clue that they were doing this, and so I went back in my records because I'm very diligent. I keep a physical copy of every single document that I have signed. So I went back into my university file and I found where I did not consent to any media release. But here I am. So I called campus and I spoke to their marketing department. I tried to get in touch with their campus attorney, their international department, and they all said that they would get in contact with me, but I still have not heard anything back. I don't think this is anything major. It's just very uncomfortable knowing that that's an image of me that I did not approve, nor did I ever want taken in the first place. And I did not know that they would use that for advertising specifically. You know, it's one thing if you just have me I don't know, just on a mural wall amongst other students, just showcasing students of that university. It's another to use my image for advertising, to bring in other international students. So let me know, what would you do in this situation? Because I'm pretty sure they're still using my image, and I would like that taken down ASAP.
Someone planted an AirTag in my car. Let's talk about it. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to share this story because my husband and I are pretty traumatized about it, but we learned some valuable lessons in this whole situation, and I figured why not share it just to bring awareness. Before we get into the actual story, I wanted to share the lesson that we learned, which is in order for your iPhone to tell you that an AirTag is following you, an unknown AirTag, you have to have your Bluetooth on, your location services on, and your notifications have to be on, which I did not know that. I thought it always comes on automatically. I have two phones. I have a work phone and a personal phone. I got lucky that my work phone had my notifications turned on because my personal phone did not have notifications turned on. And I have my personal phone with me every day. I don't always have my work phone with me. I'm going to show you really quick how to make sure that your notifications are turned on. So you're going to go to your Find My app. You're going to make sure you're on the tab that says Me on the bottom right. You're going to scroll down and click on Customize Tracking Notifications and turn your notifications on if it isn't already. I also chose to make my banner style to be persistent, so that way if it is happening again, I'll know and it will be persistently telling me that there's an AirTag that's following me. Okay, let's get into the actual story now. So for reference, we got this car in December, and this is my daily car. I drive it every single day. Last Wednesday, we had a mobile detailing come to our apartment, and they worked on the interior and the exterior of our car for basically an hour and a half to like 2 hours. And we're not out there with them the whole time, so they have access to the entire vehicle. And I'm not saying that they planted the AirTag, but the timing is like suspicious and just a coincidence. So detailing was on Wednesday, and I drove around on Thursday and Friday. Now, I don't remember if I had my work phone with me, because remember, my personal phone does not have notifications turned on. My work phone does. So if I didn't have my work phone with me, how would I have known that there's an AirTag in my car? So I drove around Thursday and Friday. Come Saturday through Monday, I'm sick. You can still hear me. I'm still congested as heck. But I'm sick. I don't leave the house. My husband doesn't use my car. It's just sitting parked, hasn't been touched since Friday, basically. Come Tuesday, I'm driving home, and I'm turning onto my street, and I see the corner of my eye, my work phone lights up, and it says, unknown AirTag is traveling with you. And I'm like, what? So I park my car, I press play sound, and I hear it in my car. I'm like ripping up my back seat, I'm ripping up my trunk. I can't find it, but I can still hear it, and it sounds like it's louder in the trunk of the car. It's at this point that I realize that a lot of SUVs have the spare tire in the trunk underneath like that cargo liner thing. My husband comes out, he's helping me remove the cargo liner and the floor panel, and we hear it. It's so much louder. Okay, here's a screenshot that I found online that's basically the same as my trunk. So we removed this foam that had the jack in it. You have to unscrew this knob that holds the tire in place, pull the tire out, and then pull out this like styrofoam stuff that's underneath. So upon first glance, we're like, okay, where is it? But we play the sound. It's that thing right there. Like, that thing is disguised. It looks like it could be a part of the car. So at this point, my husband calls the cops, and I'm looking at this thing. I've got the flashlight in it, and I realize it's Velcroed in place. Probably so it won't like rattle around as I'm driving. I also tried to do the whole like learn about this AirTag prompt, but like I think that case was just so thick that the phone could not get like a proper reading from it. So a police officer finally arrives, and he's asking us questions, taking pictures and videos of the whole thing. And he's like, if we find out who did this, do you want to prosecute for stalking? Yeah, I do. The officer put gloves on, and he proceeds to remove it. And I'm like, hey, do you think I can try to, take it out of the case so I can, do the whole like learn about this AirTag thing? The officer flips it over, and this is what it looks like. There's 4 screws you have to remove in order to take the AirTag out. I found it on Amazon. This thing is industrial as heck. It's waterproof. It's disguisable. Like, there was intention to hide this. I was like, hey, I'll go back in my apartment and get a screwdriver right now. Like, if I can crack that thing open. And he's like, nah, like, I know you're curious, but like, just let's leave it to the detectives. And I'm like, so as he's putting the AirTag into the bag, he's doing a final look of the trunk and he's like, hey, what is that thing? Is that yours? We're like, I don't know. This is our first time looking in our trunk since getting this car. Like, I don't know what that is.
And I don't know, I mean, maybe it is part of the car. I don't think so. No idea. But...
And then what's the other side, please?
Are you ready for a plot twist? Good old ChatGPT. It's a cellular GPS tracking / telematics device. What? But it also says that car dealerships use it for asset tracking and repossession. And since we do still have a loan on the car, we're thinking, okay, maybe it's not what we think. Maybe this is just like what they use to track the vehicle in case we decide not to pay our payments. I don't know. Let's just like leave it here for now and we'll just call in the morning and ask them what's up. So my husband calls our dealership the next day and sends them pictures. He's like, hey, this is what's happening. They took the AirTag away. By chance, is this brick thing your guys's? And they're like, nope, that's not ours. The device that we use is much smaller and you would find it like in your steering column. So that's definitely not ours, and neither is the AirTag. So call the cops. We're like, cool, okay. We call the cops, they come and take the brick device away, and we're both freaking out. We're like, okay, we found 2 devices. Could there be more in the car? Possibly. So we took our car to the Toyota dealership, and we were like, do a full sweep, please. Just do what you gotta do. We told them the whole situation. They did the full sweep, and everything came back clear, thankfully. But like, this whole thing is just crazy. Like, I've heard of it happening on the news. I hear about it on social media, but like, I can't believe it freaking is happening to us. And as of right now, we don't really have any answers. We don't know like a particular motive, but like the 2 things that come into mind are chop shop, you know, steal a car, sell it for parts, and 2, human. I keep trying to tell myself that it's the former and not the latter, so I just don't like lose my mind. But yeah, we haven't contacted the detailers yet. We're not sure if we want to or if we want to wait for the police to do it. Like, we even thought, okay, maybe the last owner of this vehicle had this AirTag in there, but like, I never got notifications. I've been driving it all the time since December, and like, all of a sudden I get these unknown AirTag notifications after the detailing. Like, it's just such a coincidence. And the previous owner was the only owner of the vehicle before us. So, you know, we bought our car from Nissan. They said that's not their tracking device. We brought it to Tucson. We brought it to Toyota, and they were like, yeah, that's not our tracking device either. So it's hard for me to believe that it had anything to do with a loan. No one else has had access to our car, especially like that part of our car, since us purchasing it. We didn't bring it to a shop or anything like that. The only people who had access to it was the detailers. All that to say, tell your friends, tell your family, make sure your notifications for tracking are turned on. It's a scary world that we live in, especially as a woman living in Phoenix, where human is a big problem. You know, I wanted to spread the word, and I wanted to make sure everyone is staying aware of their surroundings and staying vigilant and staying safe.
My husband passed away March 9th, 2023, and I was actually on the phone with him when he passed away, and I'm finally ready to share my story publicly. The reason why I want to share this story is there is an underlying theme and some awareness that I want to bring forward in what I'm about to say. Most people in my life do not know about this story. They know some of it, but the majority of people do not know what actually happened. And like I said, I feel it is on my heart that I need to finally get it out after all this time. I can finally share this story without crying. And sometimes I would say this story out loud. My therapist told me to, talking to myself, just trying to get it out to become comfortable, because it was and is a really rough situation that I'm proud of myself for coming a long way. But to start the story, I will say that my husband and I were married for 10 years, and a lot of our marriage was really good. We were very connected. emotionally, physically, you know, we both felt like we were kind of soulmates to each other. However, there were some issues mentally with him. Basically some unresolved trauma from when he was younger that he never dealt with. And on top of that, he had an autoimmune disease. And having an autoimmune disease will affect your mental health, no doubt about it. If you don't seek help for it, it can get out of hand. And unfortunately, that is what happened in this case, I do believe. I met my husband actually through my mother-in-law. We worked together. The first day I showed up to my new job, she was right next to me as my cube mate, I'll call it, and we quickly became very close. I considered her my second mom at one point, and you know, I would confide in her and the relationship I was in at the time, and I was actually engaged. Not only that, she actually gave me a book called The 5 Love Languages to help understand the situation that I was going through, because I was going through a tough relationship where we argued a lot and it was really tumultuous. Not physical, but tumultuous. So, like I said, we became really, really close, and at some point she did leave the company, but I would still go to lunch with her. I met her husband, actually met 2 of her sons, because she has 3 sons. I met 2 of her sons, and you know, she actually tried to hook me up with her oldest son at the time. But I wasn't, you know, interested. That wasn't for me. I was on another journey. Well, after she left the company for about 2 years, I would still follow her on Facebook. We followed each other on Facebook, and there was this one particular time where I saw she made a post about being on a cruise with her family. Okay, this is part 2 of my husband passed away 3 years ago, March 9th, 2023, and I was on the phone with him when he passed away. So to continue, I saw this post on Facebook where they were going on a cruise, and I was very happy for them. I knew their whole family, so almost everyone. So I'm scrolling, you know, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm looking at all the pictures, and then all of a sudden I see the most beautiful man I'd ever seen in my life, and he was like going like this, and I was like, you ever just see someone or something and you think, that's mine, like that belongs to me, I'll take that now? Well, that's pretty much what happened. I sent him a message and I said, hey, I know your whole family, but I don't know you, and I feel like we need to change that. So he read my message, because this is back when Facebook allowed you to see who read your messages. Now it's like an option to tell people whether you read it or not, but I saw that he read it, and then about 5 minutes later he got back to me. I assume he was probably checking out my profile to see kind of what I'm about, and he responds and he says, yeah, I totally agree with you. He said, we're getting ready to leave port right now, but when I get back, I would love to catch up with you and let's go on a date. I said, all right, let's do it. So we did. We went on a lunch date at Ditto's in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was super cool, super quick and chill, but I really seemed to like him, and he was funny. I did notice then for the very first time that he definitely had an autoimmune disease, because he couldn't have gluten, and he was just telling me about how a lot of things make him itch. What I didn't know is way far in the future, that's going to get 10 times worse. And also affect his mental state. However, we continued dating, and we were together about 3 months before I get pregnant. Now, I was on the Marina, so how that happened, I do not know, but it did. And he did not want children. He did not want children at all. In fact, the night he came over, and the night I told him that I was pregnant, he actually told me, wow, I was coming here to break up with you. Not because I don't like you, I do, I like you a lot, but I can't handle your son. You know, I was a single mom, and I was taking care of my son all alone. His dad was not involved in his life at this time. And he was like, I'm having a hard time with that. You know, I can't say anything to him. I'm not his dad. You know, I don't even know how to be a dad. He's like, but now I'm kind of in a pickle. And I said, well, I'm not getting an abortion. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to have this child. So if you don't want to be in his life or her life, we didn't know at the time, you can leave. All right, this is part 3 of my husband died 3 years ago on March 9th, 2023. I was on the phone with him when he passed away, and this is my story. So at this point, I was pregnant. He was not going to, he did not want to be a dad. But he said, look, I'm a good man. I'm a man of my word. So I'm going to stick with you on this. You know, I'm sorry that, you know, if it hurts your feelings, I really wanted you to get an abortion, but whatever, if you don't want to, that's your body, your choice. Okay. So we have a great relationship. We have the baby. He was tiny, but he was beautiful, is beautiful. And after a year of him being born, we ended up getting married. Now, we ended up getting married because my oldest son's dad came back in the picture and was trying to take him from me and try to say that my son was living with a strange man. So my husband was like, well, let's just get married. So he basically proposed to me in the bed. He turned over and he was like, well, you want to get married? I'm like, sure. And he was like, okay. And then we ended up going down to the courthouse and getting married. Now, I didn't have a wedding because, one, I didn't have time, but two, I didn't have enough money because I had to spend money in court, you know, trying to fight to get my custody of my son, which I did. But why I brought all that up is because as our relationship progressed, when he would get upset with me with anything, he would talk about how I forced him to be a dad. And so in his mind, he was thinking I shouldn't have to be here. Like, I didn't even want a child. I was going to break up with her. And here I am dealing with whatever it is that he doesn't like. And, you know, he doesn't want to be a dad. So that was hard for me. And that was really the first part of our relationship that was a big struggle, where we would fight a lot because he would continually say this to me when he would get upset with me. As our relationship progressed, and I don't know if you know anybody like this, but have you ever met somebody or know someone who when they get mad at you, they hold on to that information. You feel it's resolved. They may appear like it's resolved, but then every fight thereafter, they bring it up, and then they accumulate things that they fight with you about. That is what happened. So when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to abuse, what I can tell you is it will start very small and it will grow. And you might love the person and the person might love you very much, just like in our case. But when it comes down to it, it is going to grow. They're going to do as much to you as they can get away with. If you continue to stay, they will make it worse and worse. And that is exactly what happened here. So we were together 10 years. And the last 3 years or so were really painful, physically and mentally. You know, I look back at pictures of myself from back then and I was so frail. I was so skinny. No, I'm like a thick girl, as you can see, but like I was thick, but I was frail thick. And that's like, you can tell if someone's a thick person and they're frail, you can see it. It's very easy to see. And my hair was falling out. I was actually towards the end, I was wearing wigs because my hair was so thin and so bad. And at this time I didn't know anything about hair extensions, and not only that, but I really didn't even go do anything for myself. I never got my hair done. I never got my nails done. Everything I did was at home because the relationship that we had was like, he never wanted to be alone with the kids. And you know, a lot of that was how he felt physically. He just was sick all the time. The longer it went, the worse he got. He has something called mast cell activation syndrome, MCAS. And it essentially means that his body goes into shock when certain things he eats, or, you know, if he were to drink or something like that, his body thinks it needs to attack itself, and he would have hives and his nerves would hurt. I mean, I remember so many times in the shower, him screaming in the middle of the night in so much pain. But there were times where a flip of a switch would happen and he would turn into somebody that I didn't know, and his eyes would go dark, and it was so scary. And there are so many nights I remember laying in the bed in pitch black dark, and I remember there was a medicine he took to go to sleep, and it took exactly 42 minutes for that medicine to kick in from the time he swallowed it till the time it kicked in. And there were so many nights where he would be upset with me, and he would go over this wheel of problems, this Rolodex of concerns he had with me that he just never got past for whatever reason. And he would just go down that list, and he would start pacing. He would punch holes in the walls. He would break things. He would just torment the whole household. I mean, he didn't really abuse the boys necessarily, but he abused me, obviously, and they were scared. They were scared to come out of their room. They never wanted to see their mom, get hurt. And, I'll tell you, I'm a loud person, and I would stand up to him in the very beginning and for several years. Like, I would get in his face. As powerful and strong as he was, that's just how I am. But eventually I learned to submit, only because I knew if I didn't, that I was going to be hurt really, really badly. And so all of this came to a head on March 2nd, which was both of my sons that I have, because we actually ended up having a third boy. I had a birthday party for both of them, and this is where everything changed. So I had this birthday party at Malibu Jack's for both of my sons. One's born on the 22nd, one's born on the 28th of February, so it just made sense. It was cheaper to have it together, and then people didn't have to feel like they had to choose a weekend. We found ourselves in that situation. I do today, but because my boys want to have separate birthdays, just because they want to have their own days. But I made the decision to do this, and this is the day that changed everything, because my brother actually was able to come in town. And my brother is a Marine, well, I guess you're always a Marine, right? But my brother was a Marine, and he had been gone for several years, and he hadn't got to see his nephews open their Christmas presents. Well, it just so happened at Malibu Jack's, the kids were playing for so long that we ran out of time, and we were kind of pushed out of our little area that we were in. So my husband went and put all of the birthday presents in the car. My brother's like, I of course wanted my boys to open their presents. They were bummed because they wanted to open their presents. And my brother was like, I haven't seen my nephews in so long. I want to see them open their presents. So he comes up to me and he says, hey, I'm going to go ask if we can do this. If we can go move the party to this cafe area and we can have the boys open the presents, and then we'll leave. He asked, that's fine. Well, my husband gets very, very upset with him. This is one of those times where the switch was flipped, and my brother went outside and helped him get the presents back out of the car. Well, he was so annoyed that he had to get these presents out of the car that he looked at my brother and he said, you're a bitch, right? Now, that's my baby brother, okay? And he's never, ever talked to my brother like that, ever. It has only been respect, 100%. My brother also had no idea what I had been going through, what the boys had been going through. He had not a single idea. So he comes in, my husband ends up leaving because he gets upset. My brother comes in and he says, he just called me a bitch. And I was like, oh my God. What no one knew is that morning when he got up, he was so upset with me. He was upset with me because I had this party today and he didn't feel good and he just didn't want to go. And when he doesn't feel good, he's not there mentally. So he was angry with me. He was calling me names via text message. My dad ended up showing up and coming there. He wanted to ride with us, and he was in the living room waiting on him to come out. And he was so upset and felt pressured by that. And, with him calling me names and stuff, my feelings was already hurt. So this all happens, he leaves, and I just feel compelled to spill it out to my brother. I tell him everything that we had been going through, all the abuse, all the thing. I mean, I went into detail because it's just, I'd never been able to get that out of my brain. Besides one or two people in my life that knew, but they couldn't do anything, or they felt like they couldn't do anything. And I told him how I felt trapped, and I love him so much. I just want him to not be that way. I want him to love me and see who I am. Well, so my brother says, you're not leaving. You're not going anywhere. You and my nephews are going with me. Now, mind you, he had just moved into another house, so I didn't even know where he lived, let alone my husband. So he said, you're not going back to him. I can't have you dealing with this. It's just not going to happen. And nobody in my life had ever taken up for me that way. And I was so torn, I mean, here we are at my kid's birthday party, and my brother's like, you're going home with me. You guys are not going home. Here we have all these presents. Some of the presents didn't even get taken out of the car. I don't know why he didn't bring all of them. I guess he got pissed when he called him a bitch, and I don't know. But from that point forward, that was part of the end. Essentially, from here, we went and stayed at we went and stayed at my brother's. But my husband was calling my mom, was like showing up at her house, was calling my dad and like trying to figure out where I was. And everyone's like, we don't know where she is. Now, of course they did know, but they were protecting me because now everybody in our family knew, and my family knew. So I just so happened to have a business conference, like a leadership conference that I was supposed to go to that following Tuesday. So the party was on a Sunday and I was supposed to fly out to Orlando on Tuesday. Here I am at my brother's with my kids. My kids are like, what's going on? We're like, oh, we're just taking a vacation to Uncle Zach's house because we haven't got to see him in a long time. And meanwhile, I'm going to like TJ Maxx. I'm having to go all these places because I have nothing. I had to tell my boss like a little bit about what was going on because I had to tell her I don't have a laptop to bring. I have nothing. So she ended up getting one for me and that was okay. But I had to go buy all new clothes. I had to go buy a suitcase. Well, actually, I think I borrowed my sister-in-law's suitcase, so I was thankful for that. But I was there all week, and I was to fly back on Thursday. The flight back Thursday is when everything changed. That is when my life changed forever. All week long, he had been FaceTiming me. Things were fine, but he was begging me, please let me pick you up at the airport. Please let me pick you up. I'm like, babe, I am so scared of you. Every time I've ever tried to leave you before, and I come back, because I always go back, you always choke me and you always hurt me really badly. And I'm just so afraid of you. I love you so much and I don't want to leave you. I don't, but I don't have another choice. At some point, I have to choose me and I have to choose my boys over you. And even though, you know, you were only hurting me, the boys, I started to realize like they were hearing this stuff. So, you know, that day I was flying out and while I was at the airport, everything went down. On the flight to Charlotte from Orlando, I typed him this long text message telling him how much I love him, how much I'm so grateful he gave me these boys, these beautiful boys, thanking him for raising my oldest son. I, you know, went on and on about how smart he is, how handsome he is, how proud I am of all he's overcame in his life, especially with the autoimmune disease. But that the other side of him, I can't handle. And it's not fair to me or the boys to be raised in this environment. I mean, our house was so bad, I had given up. There were holes everywhere. There were things broken all the time. I was constantly picking up things that were broken just from, and it was him trying to not hurt me, but trying to get it out. And he just, even though he worked out a lot, he had so much anger inside of him. And when things were good, they were really good. But when things were bad, they were so bad. And that's all I kept thinking about as I'm typing this message to him. So I send that message to him. And I guess this is where he makes his decision on what he's going to do. I get to the Charlotte airport and, you know, he calls me, but like, I'm not really paying attention to it because, you know, I'm not trying to come back home and have him pick me up, and I don't want him to know exactly where I'm at. I have some flight delays that are happening with my team that's traveling with me, and so I'm like paying attention to them and trying to help them get a hotel overnight since their flights were delayed. And during that time, he got all the things together. I'll tell you in another video at another time what he did with the boys, because he did spend some time with the boys before he left. But when I sent him that message, I think he realized that I was done. He probably thought that from Orlando I was going straight to Kentucky, and maybe he didn't know that I was going to Charlotte. But we get to the, you know, I get them all helped and everything, and then I see him text message me, and he tells me, I can't live in a world without you, and I don't want to be here anymore, so I'm gonna go. And I'm like, what are you have 3 sons. 2 sons that are biologically yours that need you. What are you doing? Your family needs you. Your friends, like, why would you ever do this just because I'm leaving you? And also I try to say, like, hey, if you went and got help, maybe that we would have something to work on, but like, you won't get help. You don't believe in it. And he's like, no, and so then at some point I'm like, I didn't believe him. I didn't think he was telling the truth. He says, look in the family chat. His family chat in Facebook Messenger, he had put in there, you know, I love you, family. You guys have been a great family, but I'm out. And I knew when I saw that message, he was done for. He was going. And I knew that because he's a man of his word when it comes to that sort of thing, and he's never going to publicly make an outcry where he's just trying to get attention. I knew that even if he had changed his mind at the last second, he would still do it just because he had put it in the chat, and that's why he did it. And so everybody starts freaking out, obviously. Now, we're lining up. I'm on the phone with him. I call him up. I'm like, you have got to stop. What are you doing? He's telling me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. You're everything I ever dreamed of, and I didn't take care of you like I should have. I'm sorry for all the things that I did to hurt you. You know, it was somebody else. He said, it's a demon, and I have a demon in me, and this is the only way I know how to get it out. And he just kept saying, I'm so sorry, and he was crying. I was starting to cry at this point. I can hear them calling us at the gate to line up, and I'm on the phone with him frantically trying to get him to calm down. His phone, you know, I couldn't see, I didn't know where he was. And he said, don't worry, I'm going to pull over, I'm going to turn my location on, and you guys will be able to find me, but I have to go. He's like mid-sentence talking to me, and all of a sudden I hear a bunch of sounds. The sounds I hear, the only way I can really explain it is, you know, when you're talking to someone on the phone and they drop their phone and it goes pretty far from where they are, that's kind of what I heard. And that's probably actually what happened. I did not hear the sound of it going off. I just heard those ruffling sounds and like kind of like a wreck. That's what I thought happened, which he did wreck, but that's because he was going down the road. At this point, I hear these sounds, and then I hear what I think is the turn signal and the windshield wipers. It actually ended up being the emergency lights that he had turned on, but I heard those sounds, and for like 5 minutes, I'm yelling his name. We're literally going through line. I'm scanning my ticket to get on the plane, and I hear someone pick up his phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I hear somebody say coroner in the background, or at least I thought, and I'm like, maybe I'm just hearing things. Somebody picks up the phone, they're like, hello? I said, hello, what's going on? Where's my husband? And they said, ma'am, that's what we're trying to figure out. We can't get his pulse. And then I'm walking down the plane on United Airlines, walking down the plane. I'm sure there are people on that plane that remember this to this day. I mean, I just don't know how you couldn't remember it, because I just was so frantic and in shock. I'm reciting his name, I'm reciting his date of birth, I'm reciting our address, and I'm hysterical. Thank goodness I had people with me that I love and I trust that were very much there for me, because...
POV, my sister with Lyme disease drinks a martini. How do you feel?
And I say that because at this point, I have no idea what is going on. He did not turn his location on, and he told me he was going to stop. He told me he was going to stop, and he was going to turn his location on, and then he was going to do it. And I was like, there's no way that he just took his life on the phone with me. There's no way. I know there's so many things that he might do to me to hurt me physically, but I just can't imagine that he would intentionally take his life while we are on the phone together. And so I couldn't bring my brain to believe that. And here I have this sheriff telling me that they can't get his pulse. So with them saying they can't get his pulse, and with me hearing what I thought was the turn signal, I thought he had just gotten into a wreck, and maybe they'll be able to bring him back. You know, maybe my boys will still have their dad, and he didn't get a chance to do what he was going to do. Maybe God intervened. But as it turns out, he must have hit a bump or something. He had it ready. He just didn't he was actively getting ready to be pulled over when it went off. Now, I know that it was an accident for many reasons. One other reason I know this is because when I got his phone back, the last thing he looked up on Google was brainstem and suicide. And the trajectory of where this went off was not necessarily the brainstem. It kind of went up through the side of his face. And that tells me that there was probably like a bump. And now, why he had it ready to go while he was still driving, he was frantic. He was in a whole other, it was just a different person almost. And so anyway, I didn't know that this actually had happened, and I'm in shock. We're in the plane, we're starting to go up. I'm like, okay, you know, where's my kids? He must have left my kids at the house. I'm like, he's gonna be okay. Everything will be fine. Wi-Fi is supposed to work on this United Airline flight, and I could not get it to work. And I ended up asking a flight attendant when they walked by, I'm like, hey, is there Wi-Fi on this flight? And she said, yeah, absolutely. Or I think it was a he. He said, yeah, absolutely, mine's working. And I said, mine's not working. And I think he kind of knew what was going on. Maybe he'll remember this if he sees these videos, but I couldn't get it to work. So for an hour and a half to 2 hours, I was flying back from Charlotte to Louisville, and I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was that my husband, something just happened to him in the car. And I just talked to a sheriff who said he couldn't get his pulse. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know anything else until I landed in Louisville and got to back.
I'm probably going to get judged for this, but I told my kids they were allowed to hit each other once a day. So to really think about it and not waste their one hit. And now they're calmly discussing when would be the best time to hit each other. But the actual hitting has stopped. So, you know, whatever works.
When I got to baggage claim, there was like randomly a wheelchair, like a airport wheelchair, you know, the ones it's like kind of sits like this. There's no handles or anything, but there's like feet things. I don't remember exactly. I just know that the moment I got to baggage claim, I am on the phone with my mother-in-law and father-in-law who are at my house on the Ring camera, and we're all talking about, we still don't know where he's at. While I had been flying this whole time, they had been searching and searching for him. They'd been calling hospitals, police departments. They had been calling everything they could to find him, and they could not find him. And we're talking, you know, he had left the kids there, and we're talking on the Ring camera, and they say, you know, we're like, basically, well, the sheriff, no one's come here, so maybe he's still alive. We just don't know where he's at. Like, we were still trying to keep hope, when all of a sudden, behind them come the lights, and it was the Franklin County Sheriff to confirm that he was dead. I collapsed in that chair. I can't even, I've never even seen one like just sitting out where it's not been touched. The fact that it was there was just like divine intervention for me to have a place, because I was going to be on that floor. There was no way around it. I immediately thought, oh my God, this is my fault. Like, I caused this. If I would have just let him pick me up here, he would still be alive. He would still be here. It's all my fault. And, you know, my team's telling me, no, it's not your fault. He made this decision. He made this decision. This is not your fault. I'm bawling. I cannot believe it. His parents are bawling. They're like, why would he do this? You know, and I'm like, I don't know why he would do this. And I really didn't know. Like, I don't know why he would do this when he has a life. Like, he has kids. And if he wanted me back, he could have tried to get me back. He didn't even make that opportunity. My brother ends up coming to get the boys. And because I had let him have the boys that week while I was gone on my trip, because I felt like, for one, they had school, like they couldn't not go to school. And just because he and I are breaking up or splitting up, that doesn't mean that he can't be with the kids. So he had them, but he had left them at the house. My brother comes to get them. And I tell you, when my brother pulls up at the airport and I open the door and I see my kids' faces, they had no idea. They had absolutely no idea that this was going on. They're like, hey, Mama, it was so good to see you. We missed you so much, you know, because I'd been gone all week. And I get in the car and I'm just distraught. And they're like, what's wrong, Mama?